What's your outlook for the dollar right now?
Well, the dollar is a weak currency, except all the others. In other words, there is no attractive alternative to the dollar. The euro has its own problems, and the other currencies, of course, sterling is in some ways. The United Kingdom is in worse shape than U.S. And there are some other currencies like Norwegian or Brazilian, but they're rather small. And because they are attractive, they are already very bid up, so overvalued. So there isn't really an alternative. And the renminbi, which of course is undervalued, is not open for people to buy. So because of that, there is a general aversion to currencies and a flight into real assets, particularly commodities.
I want to ask you, with China, the question of asset bubbles there always comes up in conversations about China right now, and just how sustainable the growth that they're seeing is. You've said when you see bubbles, that makes you buy. Does that mean that you are active in the Chinese market?
Well, I have been active in the Chinese market. Right now, the Chinese market is overheating, and they have to slow it down. And it remains to be seen how successful they are. And in fact, the Chinese market currently, the stock market, is under some pressure because of that correction.
The restriction on lending and so forth. You said it's in the best interest there as well for the Chinese to let the yuan, the renminbi, to float.
Well, that would be a very appropriate thing for the Chinese to do now, both for domestic and for international reasons.
Will they?
Well, that remains to be seen because they don't like to be told. So I'm just observing it. I'm not advising them because they don't like to be pushed.
Chapter 2 of your book here. It was interesting because this came out before the president gave his speech. President Obama gave his speech and referenced the Volcker rule. But a lot of the proposals you have in here are familiar. They sound a lot like the Volcker rule in terms of...
Yes, they are, in fact. Obama-Volcker plan is the right one, separating commercial banking from financial markets. But it still leaves the problem of market participants that are not banks, that may be also too big to fail, as LTCM was in 98. And there you either have to downsize them, or you actually have to supervise them very closely and regulate them so that they have plenty of capital and don't use the kind of leverage that investment banks are currently using or were using. I mean, hedge funds may take a leverage of maybe, let's say, 3 or 4-fold of their capital. But the investment banks were actually leveraged 30 or 40 at times. Now, there were some hedge funds that were leveraged, let's say, 8 times, but they actually went broke. They actually got wiped out. So that's, you have to go back to that.